What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back for not another VOD review. Today, we're going to be talking everything set 18 Enchanted Wilds, talking about the set mechanic. I think we're going to be able to go through a lot of the traits today. We'll get through as much as we can. We're definitely not going to be able to cover everything, but I want to talk as much as I can about set 18 so far because all the information just dropped today. I'm super, super excited. It's looking really, really good, honestly. And I know I'm usually pretty negative about TFT sets. Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm always says every set's going to be the best set of all time. But, well, I'll talk about it later. But I've heard some very positive things from people who are usually kind of negative. Some other stuff to talk about before we get into that, though. Of course, congrats to Juanmie for winning the Space Gods Tactician's Crown. He becomes the third person to win 2 TAC crowns with Dish Soap and Title, which is just absolutely crazy if you really think about it. I want to compare this to some other games, just as a quick kind of like frame of reference here. And you look like at a game like Hearthstone, which obviously it only has 1 world championship per year, so there is a smaller number of championships. But you can see, I mean, no repeat winners in Hearthstone, which is just absolutely crazy to look at. And I also, sorry for the flashbang here, but wanted to pull up Magic the Gathering as well as a cool example, and they have, looks like 3 people have won multiple, Shahar, Seth Manfield, and Javier Dominguez in 30 years of gaming. So pretty crazy to see. It just goes to show that TFT is a very, very skill-based game. Anybody who says that this game is super RNG and it's just, oh, you get your spot and you play it, I think is just, I mean, you cannot make that argument when you have people like Juanmie, Dish Soap, Title winning, getting good, Juanmie winning Paris as well into this. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. But we don't know who's gonna win set 18 worlds yet. Probably me. So hopefully we can break everything down right now and, hey, get a head start on set 18. Also, if you do want to get a head start on set 18, be sure to check out all my Metafight stuff in the description down below. We got 2 weeks pre-PBE where I'm definitely going to do some theory crafting. I'm probably going to do a stream tomorrow just looking through even more of this information, reading through as much of it as possible so that when it does drop on PBE on July 28th, we can just jump in this just straight into it. But looking at all this stuff, I mean, first, we can talk about the set mechanic. This is just a nice, sort of framework to be able to talk about anything. Set mechanic for this set is essentially charms. If you guys did not play Magic and Mayhem, the idea behind charms is that they are a little thing that takes up your rightmost shop slot, and you click on it and it gives your board some kind of a buff here. So it's probably easiest to just look at some Wisps here, which are the evolution of charms. And so, you have econ ones like this where you can get this all ones, roll your shop with all 1-cost units, and, maybe hope to get some upgrades here. You have ones like this. You can, gain extra econ for missing player health, so some kind of crazy thing. You can get stuff like this that has a little consumable that you can put on a unit to gain AD or attack speed. Something like this that gives Reforgers. Basically all this different stuff. It can be econ, it can be stuff that buffs up your board for a round. Almost all of these are going to be like either little buffs for a round or some kind of econ. Some of them might even give you some extra HP or stuff like that. Every once in a while, the super late game ones will be able to give you stuff that like works, in the future, maybe give you like item components and things like that. But usually that is, either very, very expensive or, very hard to get. And I will just scroll down here. You can see we have a lot of them here. And then some of the later ones are really, really big. Hand of Baron. Your team gains Baron buff, increasing their stats. Chariot rerolls and XP are half price. Grandmaster gain a 2-star 5-cost champion. Circle of Elders gain 1 of each 5-cost champion. And usually ones like this that are so expensive, you need to jump through some kind of hoop to get there. So just initial thoughts on charms, or Wisps as they are called now. I like this. I like this a lot. I think, one, it seems like they've made some really nice quality of life changes. So one is that they're just color coded now, so it's very easy. Like if you're doing a roll down to just glance and say, okay, I want some kind of solid combat one, I can just roll down and see, oh, there's a combat one. Boom, I'm pretty happy with that. They also have some other cool quality of life stuff where if you don't pick up a Wisp during a fight, you get that shop slot back after the planning phase occurs. So this means that you don't feel like you have this downside of, oh man, I got a Wisp this round, I don't want to buy it, so I'm actually like losing out on a shop slot. And after you buy it, you also open that shop slot back up. So just a really, really eloquent way to rework charms. And I will say this was one of my favorite set mechanics back in the day. Some people even was their entire favorite set mechanic. For people who didn't play with charms, the reason why I like this set mechanic so much is because it interacts really well with just the base game of TFT and just adds another layer on top of it. What do I mean by this? Is that, you know, a big skill in TFT is deciding when to roll, how much to roll, what you're actually rolling for. And this just adds another layer of, okay, it's 3-2 and I have some pairs. I could roll down not only to hit my 2 stars, but also to maybe pick up a Wisp here that'll allow me to spike my board. It's also, because a lot of these are, you know, have a cost in gold here, they also offer more choices to make in a game like TFT. And talking about somebody like Hwanmie winning again, it's just, you know, the more choices that you have in a game of TFT, I feel like just raises the skill ceiling even higher. The more you know, things that you can decide. You know, you're looking at, okay, you know, maybe I get mana rich soil on 3-2 and I'm on a 3 streak here. Do I want to spend 3 gold here to allow my casters to cast faster here? Or am I going to say, I don't want to play for the streak that hard. You know, you scout your opponents here. You can even scout their charms. There's a ton of depth here. So I'm really, really excited for this. And I think this will be a great set mechanic. The next thing I think is just the easiest thing to hop into is looking at traits. Looking through all of this and seeing what are the actual traits that we have access to this set. This gives you a nice framework. You can see what the verticals are, all this kind of stuff. So I'm just going to go through each of them and give quick thoughts on all of them and just what my initial reactions are. Obviously, I have not played with these. Unfortunately, for the people in the normal playtest, we did not get a playtest this time because they're doing all of this work porting the game over to Unreal. So sadly, no playtest. So I'm going to be jumping in basically the same spot with all of you guys when PBE drops. Hopefully, you know, all of this prep work we can do ahead of time can give us a leg up. So first one. And this is actually quite helpful to read Elune's ability as well. So I think this is the best way to do it, is that every time she casts, she cycles to a new phase of the moon. So if you go to Elune's ability here, she casts, she rains moon shards split among the nearest enemies, dealing X magic damage. And then if the moon is full, she crashes it onto the board, doing X magic damage split among all enemies. So the idea here with her lunar trait, I haven't actually seen this in action, but the assumption is that this is a forecast to fill up the moon, right? You know, you go, you know, it's a new moon, and then it's half a moon, and then it's a quarter, then a half a moon, then 3/4, then a full moon, and then she casts and does the big full moon cast. What this means for Attuned is that at the start of combat, you're getting durability for your board, making the fight last a little bit longer, and then in the you know, second half of combat, you know, mid combat, you are getting extra damage. Yeah, this is really, really cool because obviously when she is doing her big crash, this means that you are getting that damage amp on top of it. So I think this is a really, really cool trait. It has, you know, echoes of Lucian Senna from set 16. Yeah, where, you know, you'd have Lucian and Senna, and they would kind of like swap out, and you would either be getting durability or damage amp for your entire board. This is also just obviously a fantastic splash unit, especially because she has a lunar as well, which we will get to. But that is a fantastic splash trait as well. So expect a lot of you know, 5-cost boards to cap around playing on a Lune on this board and getting attuned for your entire board. Avatar. So if you guys did not play set 2, and honestly, I'm a little bit of a noob to this as well. I did not play that much set 2. I played like a few games of it. This is 5-cost Lux, where you essentially get access to one of these Lux per when you find it in shop. So you see this is a Coven Lux, this is a Fey Lux, this is a Solar Lux, this is a Primal Lux, They all have different abilities and also give you 2 of that trait. So say we're playing Primal here and we get a Primal Lux, we're gonna get +2 to Primal by fielding this Lux. A couple of interesting things about this. One is that if you get a Lux of this type, so say I get a Lunar Lux here, no one else can get a Lunar Lux. This is something that I think there's a decent chance they change because this does seem like it could lead to some really, really bad beats. The example people have given already, and I mean, I think it's a fantastic example, is imagine on this patch right now in set 17, somebody gets a Space Groove Lux, and they just have +2 Space Groove for free, essentially, and the Lux just does a ton of work. Imagine you're playing Space Groove, and somebody contests you and gets that Space Groove Lux, and you're just guaranteed to never be able to make it to Space Groove Lux. That feels really, really bad. So we'll see if that ends up being changed. If not, this does mean that Lux is going to be, you know, a super high roll. Also the potential to open up more verticals. So, for example, things like, getting to, 7 Blossom, either you can field all 7 Blossom units or you can field 5 of them and then get a Lux in on top of that. And some traits may even have verticals that are enabled by Lux. Elderwood's a great example here where there are only 7 Elderwood units. So to get up to 11, it's literally impossible, right? Unless you have a Lux, because you need to, obviously you can't field. I mean, I guess you could get new recruit and field 11 units on 10, but it's going to be very difficult without Lux to get this here. But the idea is you hit 10, get a Lux, and you get 2 emblems here, and then you get to play 11 Elderwood and start up your plants, which we will get to. So I think this is really fun, really interesting. We'll see what the actual all of the abilities end up looking like balance-wise here. If there is like one Lux ability that's really strong, usually I'm gonna say that like the traits I think are gonna matter a lot for Lux, because getting 2 in for that trait for 1 unit. She is not a like a dragon unit or anything like that where she takes up 2 slots. She is just a 1-slot unit that gives you 2 traits, which is really nice. Means that she's essentially giving you that +1 for free, which is cool. All right, now to move into one of the first big verticals of this set. This is Blossom. After combat, your Wisps are empowered. So you can't toggle this in and then roll down. You have to field this for combat. So this is good because, toggling is a very dirty word in TFT. So if you want to get the effect of getting your bonus combat power on Wisps, you need to field this for a round. And then it also gives your Blossom Champions AD, AP, and max HP. So this is just like a solid vertical trait that gives your team stats, and then gives you this nice little upgrade of your Wisps get a little bit better. On 5, your Wisps are in every shop, and also are then, of course, upgraded on top of that. And then also on 7, you get gold for buying Wisps. I don't know if this just replaces the gold from the Wisp, or it is this actual like an econ trait. Either way, this is going to be an econ trait on 7. Almost gives me flashbacks to like Meeple, this set, where you can go up to 7 and get this extra econ from the trait, but I'm not sure if this is actually like gold positive or not. So we'll see once the trait comes out. I do think this is going to be a very fun vertical to play around. Should be really interesting. And it also, the big question is, how big are these upgrades on the Wisps? Is it your board gains 150 HP and it's, all of a sudden 200 HP? I mean, that's a pretty big buff there, a 33% increase. So only time will tell here how strong the buffs are, and also what the AD and AP is. But I think this is a fun vertical. People are going to be really excited about this. Bounty Seeker, I guess, to go for another unique trait. This is Draven's unique trait. The idea is, he's basically Ishtal in a unit. So when you field him, you get a set of 3 bounties. One of them might say, score 8 takedowns with Draven. And the next one might say, Draven survives 4 3-player combats without dying. And if you do the one that gets 8 takedowns, maybe you get 5 gold or something. And if he survives for 3, maybe you get a component like a sword or something like that. So he gives you bonuses for completing his bounties. I think this is really interesting, going to be really fun. He's also a really cool unit where he attacks random enemies and bleeds them, and then he throws his ult out and pops the bleeds. So I'm excited to see what Draven looks like here, but very fun. Caustic here, this is Kog'Maw's unique trait. Basically just gives Shred and Sunder on his ability. Really nice to have this unit. He's not really a threat type unit, actually. He has 2 traits, Invoker and Adapter, but you can also just throw him in to any board and just get free, Shred and Sunder for your board, which is really nice. So definitely a unit that you're gonna be looking at playing randomly. Stage 3, get some Shred and Sunder in, maybe even, stage 4, might even throw this guy into some reroll boards. As we'll talk about later, there's some interesting reroll units to play around, so excited for that. Coven here, this is the loss streak trait of the set. Really simple. You get essence per kill and you get essence per loss. This is, so some people have said, oh, they just reprinted Anima again. No, this is actually crucially different from Anima in that it does not care about your streak whatsoever. What this means, when we've had traits like this in the past, means that oftentimes there is an optimal strategy of win streak for a period of time, say win all of stage 2, then get this in stage 3 and start losing. You've saved all this HP, and usually you get more essence for losing stage 3 than losing stage 2, and then maybe you can get a really nice cash out here. It is also a 3, 4, 5 trait, so you can get 3 in relatively easily with only a 1 cost and 2 cost. Do not need to reach a 3 cost to get there, like Anima in this set. But if you can get up to the 3 cost, get 4 in, you start getting more stacks, get 5 with the Morgana, then you really start to go crazy. So I expect this to be a solid, straightforward cash out trait, but don't underestimate the possibility of win streaking into Coven. Elderwood here, this is another really cool one. So each level that you put into this, you get more little placeable things. So you can get a Stonebark Tree, which is essentially like a target dummy. It just sits there, eats aggro. A Life Bloom, which is more of like a backline one. I don't think they've actually released what Life Bloom does, but the assumption is it heals because it's Life Bloom. So it's something you could keep safe in your backline who heals up your board. On 5, you get a second tree. On 7, you get the Deepwood Protector, which is like a big like Sentinel, like a blue buff type unit, except blue buff is in the set, spoiler alert. So that's absolutely crazy. And then if you can manage to get up to 9, which is obviously you can do, actually even on level 8, right, with the Lux and getting an extra 1 in, if you high roll Lux, or obviously easily on level 9, something like this, you can get 2-star, and then like I talked about, the chase trait is getting them to 3-star. Looks really fun. I'm very excited about this. I love traits that you give you little placeable things, and you have to figure out, okay, where do I want to position all these? What do I want to do with all these units? I also just like a lot of these units look really cool vertically. Boom. Next trait here, Eldritch. This is a sacrifice trait. It brings me back to like Dark Flight. If you guys played in whatever stuff that was, I don't know, it gets thrown out of my mind immediately. Where you get a hex on the board. It's in like the middle of your third row. And you sack that unit. Now, Darkflight spread their items to everybody, led to some like really crazy but fun stuff. This just gives stats to all of your Darkflight units based on the unit's roll, star level, and cost. So imagine you're sacking like a tank. You're gonna get some extra tank stats to your entire board. You're sacking like a caster. You're gonna get some like extra like casting, like AP onto your entire board, stuff like that. So really cool, kind of almost like build your own trait type thing, where you're like, okay, I really need some extra frontline on this board. I'm going to take this and play for it. It does also have a really nice tank in Malphite, who is a monolith, which we'll get to, but this is Malphite's unique trait, so you can very easily just splash Malphite really easily, get monolith in, maybe get 1 extra Eldritch unit, sack some kind of tank that you don't care about that much, and then get the extra tank stats onto Malphite, who really likes it because monolith gives them armor and MR. So should be really fun and interesting. I'm also realizing we're at 17 minutes and I'm like halfway through the origin, so we'll have to speed this up, but we'll get there. Taric, you basically pair an ally with Taric, and he protects them. So we can actually scroll down to Taric's ability here to look at this here. So if either of them drop below, this is probably like 50% HP, he gives them a shield and allies within X hexes. So it's kind of like an AoE shield around those units. So you basically pick a unit and say, I want to protect them. Also, if he casts, then he heals, and then Taric and his passive deal bonus magic damage on attack for their next few attacks. So really fun unit that will like allow you to kind of like protect a backliner if you care about them a lot. This is, by the way, a 5-cost tank. We had no 5-cost tanks in set 17. This was a pain point for a lot of players. We're actually going completely in the opposite direction this set. We have 2 5-cost tanks and a 5-cost utility unit, and another unit that's kind of utility-y in NAR, tanky utility-y. So it's going to be very different. This should be a big buff to fast 9 strategies, because usually when you can just go 9, boom, hit a Taric 2 that stabilizes your board really hard, you'll be into an amazing spot. So really looking forward to that. Fae. This is the only trait that the text does not make any sense to me. Each pixie grants Fae champions attack damage and AP, and after they fall below X% HP, they heal for each pixie. And then it shows this here. After tracking 7 pixies, start attracting golden pixies instead, which grant gold. Really cool. One question, what the hell is a pixie? None of their abilities refer to pixies, so I'm not sure how you actually get pixies. This is something that we will have to see over time, but it looks like a cool trade. Going up to 4 for the Econ 1/1. You can play this in the early game with the Xayah Rakan. Obviously, you're meant to be played together, and they also like Xayah can grant Rakan attack speed, and then she can reduce armor and stuff like that. Like they play really nicely together. And then maybe you get a random Lilia, high roll early, get 4 Hin, start getting some Econ. You can certainly play for it. Looks fun, But what is a pixie? This is my only question for you at Riot Games. Flora Fatalis. This is a kind of crazy, almost unique trait. There's only 2 units. Also, look at this. I hate this. It's art for Fiddle. It's so scary. But it's Fiddlesticks and Soraka. They made this TFT set for me, by the way. It's got Soraka in it, who's my main in League. It's got Willem in it. No Nunu, but Willem specifically in it, which is interesting as a piece of a trait, which we'll talk about, who is one of my mains in League. And it has Ivern in it, who is one of my mains in League. Like, they actually made this for me. But yeah, they On takedown, gain mana on 1, and then on 2, they on takedown heal the lowest health ally. So this is going to be a really, really nice splash trait. Just play 1 or 2 on these. You know, gain some extra mana for your Soraka. It's almost like a unique trait for them. And if you get 2, it's a nice buff for your team. Fiddlesticks is also a defender, which is going to be a really, really nice splash trait. It's kind of the bastion of this set. So definitely, you know, be excited to slot this kind of stuff in on your board. I think it will also potentially lead to some really degen stuff because Defender obviously has really good synergy with Heal. Defender is, like I said, it's basically Bastion where it gives your entire team Armor Namar. And, you know, if you play, I was talking to Disco TFT today, and he was already theory crafting 6 Defender stuff, 6 Defender Soraka stuff. You just have Soraka play for really, really long fights. They go super, super infinite. You heal them up with the Flora Fatalis. It sounds kind of gross, honestly. So we'll see, but we might have like another 6 Bastion Aphelios type comp out there. Inferno. This is the Deep Abyss trait of the set, where your damage, burns, and wounds, and then Inferno burns stack with other burns. So you can multiple burn. You don't have to feel bad about, you know, building Sunfire or Morello on these units because the burn stacks. And a lot of these units care about if the unit they hit is burned. So for example here, Akali throws a volley of kunai at the target, dealing physical damage, and if the target is burning, it deals extra damage. This is a trait where you really want to get the units burning. You definitely want to be careful. You know, units like you know, Amumu already will burn units with their damage because their damage just straight up burns. But you want to make sure that you are applying a burn onto somebody before you get like one of these casts off for these type of units. Very interestingly enough, only some of them care about, like Varus, for example, doesn't care if the units are burning. But it's really nice. You can slot this in and just obviously get your heal cut for free with something as easy as just like you know, Amumu, who's a good tank, and then, you know, I don't know, a Shen or something. Just play, you know, Juggernaut and then Defender on your board pretty easily. Get some free burn onto your board, so that's gonna be really, really nice. It also turns into kind of high-end shopping, actually. So at 3, after combat, some of your shop slots without an Inferno champion ignite, rolling a champion 1 tier higher. So, for example, you know, if you did see, you know, a non-Inferno champion and it was a 3 cost, it can then roll that into a 4 cost. In the past, when high-end shopping has been an augment, and if you guys haven't played with high-end shopping, that is essentially, it says, you know, your shop slots can roll higher tier units. You know, a shop that would be a 4 cost can turn to a 5 cost. It's almost always been quite broken. Even when it was just like 2 shop slots, it was quite strong. And I imagine you're gonna get more out of that more than that out of Inferno. So this trait sounds really, really, really powerful. You're gonna have to balance the fact that it is like, you're not getting as much combat power out of it, but, you know, I can definitely see just like, you know, playing an Inferno in the early game, you roll, you know, a 3 cost that rolls up into a 4 cost, and you're like, boom, okay, that's my 4 cost that I can play around. So this sounds really, really nuts. The 3 Inferno opener, definitely something that I can see playing around as kind of like, it's not an econ trait, but it kind of is. You know, getting access to your better units earlier is really, really valuable. Lunar. This is a really, really nice splash trait. Lunar champions and adjacent allies gain attack speed and AP. Lunar champions gain more. So it's basically like a cute cone, a chalice of power, like a Zeke's Herald, where it gives them that buff to the units right next to them. This sounds really, really, really strong. It is also a 2/3/4 with a lot of high cost units in it, so very easily already, you know, we talked about stuff, you know, like playing around a Loon on your late game boards, fitting a Loon on your board plus an Aphelios or a Diana, and just get that really, really easy 2 trait onto your board. You can just give that Zeke's value essentially to your backliners, get a bunch of attack speed, and it's going to be really, really, really strong. So yeah, definitely look for this. I also imagine Lunar Lux is going to be insane here, just because it's going to be a really, really nice trait to just slot it in on any board, and you'll be happy with it. 2 unique traits here. Monolith basically gives Malphite a free gargoyle, which synergizes with his ability because he grants himself a shield. Also synergizes with any HP you get off stuff like Eldritch. So you can just be very happy about solo frontlining him. This is, you know, similar to Morgana, where he is a 4 cost that is essentially traitless. Eldritch is, you know, a trait that you can play for, but you don't have to play for it. So this is going to be a very, very nice flex 4 cost tank that you can play around. One other thing, I guess, to just say big picture about the set that they did say to us is that this is a set that has just more units than average because they're adding a lot of these like splash units like Malphite that only have 1 trait, or like Rival, Rengar and Kha'Zix, who, you know, only have Rival trait. So they really want you to be able to play flex play with these kind of like traitless units, slot them in when you need to, slot them out when you don't, and play for it, which is really, really cool. Old Growth here. This is Maokai's unique trait. When an enemy with X hexes dies, gain X permanent max HP. So he's a scaling 5-cost tank. He is a juggernaut, but I think you'll feel totally fine just playing this guy onto your board. Not worrying too much about that. So looks really, really strong as well. Primal I can't say much about because I don't know what the Primal Blessings are, but this almost reads like a build your own trait type thing, where you can get a Primal Blessing that like buffs up your units. Say you want to play for a more like AD setup here. I believe also, yeah, Nidalee is an adapter, which is like she can have an AD ability or an AP ability, kind of like Riven this set, or more like Kaisa actually, where the ability itself actually changes, but you can build her AD or AP, which is really, really cool. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I really want to see what these primal buffs look like. Also, I don't know. I like the splash arts for somebody called this the furry trait, but it's not really the furry trait. It's like, anyway, Rift Beast. All right. This is by far the coolest trait of the set. It's all the jungle camps plus Elder Dragon as their own units that you can field onto the board here. And they all get unique buffs. It's basically a buff for that specific unit, but some of the buffs are actually team-wide as well. So, good example is something like Scuttle Crab here. If you put the selector on him, you basically get a selector when you field Rift Beast. You put the selector on him, when all of your allies fall below X% HP, they restore max HP. So that's a team-wide buff. Or you could throw something on Pebbles, the little blue buff dude. And this Pebbles gains mana regen while channeling the ability, or like for more every time you channel the ability. So this is very, very selfish. So some really, really cool differences here in how that you can play this. Sentinel, the blue buff tank one, giving your allies mana gen is really, really cool. So I'm really, really excited about this. Also, it does kind of like incentivize you. Obviously, it's a 2 1-cost and 3 2-cost here, so you can obviously see the idea of like a low-cost Rift Beast reroll being very, very strong here. Get the 5 in, start getting extra shops that are overrun with Rift Beasts that allow you to reroll, and then you obviously have the big cap out in the Elder Dragon here. He is a dragon, so his Apex Predator means that he grants 2 to Rift Beast when you play him, but he also takes up 2 slots, and he has this insanely cool buff where he gets Elder Dragon buff, he executes units. So crazy. Rival. So these units scale up over time as they get takedowns. They stack up these stacks essentially. They also gain more if they take down another. So if you have a Kha'Zix that takes down a Rengar, then you get more stacks. They're both assassins. They're slightly different, where Kha'Zix leaps to the furthest enemy with an X hexes. We don't know if this is 3 or 4, which is a big difference. We'll see. And Rengar jumps to the lowest % health ally with an X hexes. But they're both assassin type units that you want to either just slot on your board, or you can definitely see like rerolling these guys with other stuff, like for example, Caustic here. Other 3 costs that just fit into like a random nice board here. They don't say in this what the actual like upgrades are for Kha'Zix, but we did see in the dev drop that they talked about like Kha'Zix actually evolving, which sounds really, really cool. So you can like upgrade his ability, I guess. And then Rengar, I don't know, he probably just gets some stats, kind of like the Bone Tooth Necklace thing from League. All right, and then we have 3 last few in the Origins, and I think that'll do it because we're at 28 minutes already. Solar, this is a reroll trait, kind of similar to Super, where it's a 1-cost and 2 2-costs. I think that was the same setup for Super. Either that or was very, very close. But it is one of these traits that gets better when you reroll your champions. You get a max HP shield and deal X bonus magic damage. You gain additional bonus for each unique 3-star champion. There's probably more here, and this is not everything, but you can see an example here where you get more shielding and magic damage for each 3-star unit here. Also, this is a Kale that that's not the right unit. This is a Kale where she ascends based on star level, so you can see a very, very straightforward idea of play this reroll, get Kale to 3-star, get this ascension, make her really, really strong. I'm really, really excited for this. This looks like a really, really cool reroll trait. Sprykin. This also, seems like one of the most fun traits of the set. Just like a really fun idea where when you play it, it creates Willump, and you can put a Sprykin on top of them to ride Willump, which gives them HP, attack speed, and also if you get up to 5% of the BFF's ability applies to your team. I don't know exactly how this works. I can see how this works with something like Rammus, where he gives himself a shield, armor, and Amar. He gives your entire team shield, armor, and Amar. Cool. Teemo's ability is he just throws mushrooms. How does this apply to your team? Do they all throw a tiny mushroom? We will see. But it seems like a really, really cool trait. I'm very excited about this. Seems very, very fun, honestly. You just put your Teemo on top of the Willump, give him some HP and attack speed. Seems really, really fun. And then the last origin here is Thorn Maiden, another unit, by the way, who you feel pretty good about just splashing, playing, just Thorn Maiden here, or just getting 2 Summoner in. I think Summoner's a 2 trait. Well, we'll see. But your team gains durability, and then you get more durability if Zyra has more plants alive. So as she casts, she'll summon plants. If you play Summoner, those plants are going to stick around longer. And yeah, the way that this reads, I don't think you can actually kill the plants. They just attack for a certain number of autos. Okay, that's 30 minutes. We will talk more later about all of this other stuff, go through units, all this kind of stuff. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are excited for this set. I'm super, super hyped for it. And I just can't wait to play it. I'm sad that PB got pushed back, but I understand, they have to make it as good as possible, especially doing all this work transitioning the engine. So I understand, but I'm just so excited to play it that I wish I could queue it up, tomorrow if I could. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed as always. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to be putting out a ton of content for set 18. So if you haven't subscribed already, if you aren't enjoying all of my content, every single video, then please subscribe to the channel. Going to be doing a ton, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching as always. Bye bye.